I travel for work about 12 times a year. I've stayed in somewhere between 200 and 300 hotels in the last decade. Nothing has ever happened in any of them until 3 weeks ago. I checked into room 214 of the Caldwell Inn, found a folded piece of paper in the hotel folder on the desk. 7 rules, typed out clearly. Do not open the window after 10 p.m. If you hear knocking from inside the wardrobe, do not open it. Do not look at the mirror between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. I took it to the front desk. The woman on duty read it carefully, then told me everything on that list was accurate. She moved me to a different room. I thought that was the end of it. Then I woke up at 1:47 a.m. and found a note on the pillow next to me. One line, you should have stayed in 214. This is what happened after that. I travel for work about 12 times a year. Hotels don't bother me. The sameness of them is actually something I find comforting. Same key card system, same bathroom layout, same thin pillows and blackout curtains. Predictable, controllable. I'm a project manager for a logistics company. My name is Aaron. I'm 38. I have stayed in somewhere between 200 and 300 hotels in the last decade. Nothing has ever happened in any of them until the Caldwell Inn. It was a business trip to a mid-sized city I had been to twice before. Nothing special about the trip. 2-day conference. A dinner with clients on the second evening. I booked the Caldwell because it was close to the conference center and had decent reviews. 4 stars. Good Wi-Fi. Free parking. I checked in on a Sunday evening. The woman at the front desk was friendly. Mid-40s. Name tag said Patricia. She handed me my key card and told me I was in room 214. Second floor. End of the corridor. Gave me the Wi-Fi password and wished me a good stay. Room 214 was exactly what I expected. King bed, writing desk, flat screen on the wall, view of the car park. Nothing remarkable. I put my bag down and went to the desk to set up my laptop. There was a standard hotel folder sitting on the desk, the kind that has a room service menu and the checkout time and the local attractions leaflets inside. I opened it to find the Wi-Fi password I had already forgotten. The Wi-Fi card was there. So was the checkout information. So it was a folded piece of paper that didn't belong. Not hotel stationery. Plain white paper. Folded once. Typed in a plain font. No hotel logo. No heading. Just a numbered list. I assumed it was something the last guest had left behind. A shopping list maybe. A printed email. Something mundane. I unfolded it and read it. It was a list of rules. 7 of them. Numbered clearly. Rule 1. Do not open the window after 10 p.m. Rule 2. If you hear knocking from inside the wardrobe, do not open it. Wait for it to stop. It will stop. Rule 3. Do not look directly at the mirror between the hours of 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. If you need to use the bathroom during these hours, keep your eyes down. Rule 4. If the phone rings after midnight, do not answer it. If it rings more than 3 times, unplug it from the wall. Rule 5. There will be a smell between 2 and 3 a.m. Ignore it. Do not try to identify it. Do not open the door to investigate. Rule 6. If you wake up and the room feels different, do not turn on the light. Lie still. Breathe normally. It will pass within 10 minutes. Rule 7. In the morning, check under the bed before you get up. If something is there, do not react. Get up slowly. Leave the room. Do not take your belongings. Just leave. I read the list twice. Then I sat back in my chair and looked at the ceiling for a moment. My first thought was that it was a joke. Something a previous guest had printed as a prank, left for the next person to find. My second thought was that it was staged. One of those immersive horror experiences, the kind that leaves cryptic things in public spaces. My third thought was the one I couldn't shake. Whoever had written this had been specific, not vague the way ghost story cliches usually are. Specific times, specific instructions, specific consequences if you didn't follow them. That level of detail didn't feel like a prank. It felt like a warning from someone who had learned these things firsthand. I took a photo of the list on my phone. Then I went downstairs to the front desk. Patricia was still on duty. I showed her the list, told her where I had found it. She looked at it for longer than I expected. Not the quick glance of someone who was going to dismiss it, a careful reading. Then she looked up at me and asked which room I was in. I told her 214. Something crossed her face. Gone quickly, but I caught it. She said she was sorry about that. Said she would move me to a different room immediately. Said 214 should have been taken out of rotation. I asked her what she meant by out of rotation. She said the room had some history. Guest complaints going back a few years. Disturbances. Nothing they had been able to explain or resolve. I asked her what kind of disturbances. She hesitated, then said she wasn't really supposed to discuss it. Said the manager preferred staff not to talk about it with guests. I asked her if the list was real, if someone on staff had written it. She looked at the list again, then at me, and said no member of staff had written that, but that everything on it was accurate. She moved me to room 308, different floor, different corridor. I took my bag upstairs and tried to settle in. Told myself it was fine. I was in a new room. Whatever was in 214 was not in 308. I ordered room service, watched television, went to bed around 11. At 1:47 a.m. I woke up. No sound, no particular reason, just suddenly awake. I reached for my phone to check the time. 1:47 a.m. Then I noticed something. On the pillow next to me, folded once, was a piece of plain white paper. The same paper, the same font, but this one only had one line on it. You should have stayed in 214. I sat up in bed and stared at that piece of paper for a long time. Then I turned on every light in the room, checked the door, locked, chain on, checked the window, locked, checked the wardrobe, empty, checked under the bed, nothing. I sat on the edge of the bed with every light burning and the piece of paper in my hand. You should have stayed in 214. I thought about what Patricia had said. Everything on the list is accurate, which meant whatever was in room 214 was now in room 308 because I had left. I called the front desk. Patricia had finished her shift. A man answered. Night manager by the sound of it. Older voice. Careful. I told him what had happened. The note on my pillow. The locked door. The locked window. He was quiet for a moment. Then he asked me to read him what the note said. I read it. Another pause. Then he said his name was Gerald. Said he had worked nights at the Caldwell for 9 years. Said he was coming up to room 308 himself. He was there in 4 minutes. Let himself in with a master key. Tall man. Late 50s. The kind of calm that comes from having seen things you didn't expect and deciding to keep functioning anyway. He looked at the note, looked around the room, checked the same things I had checked. Then he sat down in a chair at the desk and folded his hands. He said the trouble with 214 had started about 3 years ago. A guest had reported hearing knocking inside the wardrobe. Staff had checked the room, found nothing, put it down to the building settling. Old pipes. Then a second guest reported the same thing. Then a third. Then a guest in 214 called the front desk at 2 a.m. saying there was someone in the room with her. Staff went up immediately. Room was empty. Guest was checked out her own request before sunrise. Gerald said that after that they had started taking 214 out of the regular rotation, only assigning it when the hotel was fully booked, and always with what he called a quiet agreement among the night staff. Check on that room. Don't leave it unwatched for too long. I asked him what was in there. He said he didn't know exactly. Said in 9 years he had formed some ideas, but nothing he could prove. Said the most consistent thing across all the guest reports was this: it didn't seem to want to harm anyone. It just didn't want to be alone. I asked him what that meant practically. He said it meant that as long as a guest was in a room and following certain behaviors, don't antagonize it. Don't try to interact with it. Don't leave suddenly. It stayed manageable. Said the list I had found had been circulating among the night staff for about 2 years. Nobody knew who had originally written it. It had just appeared one day, and everything on it had proven accurate over time. I asked him about the note on my pillow. You should have stayed in 214. Gerald looked at it again. Said in 9 years he had never seen it communicate directly before. Said that was new. Said he didn't know what to make of it. Then he said something quietly, almost to himself more than to me. Said maybe it had just never found someone it particularly wanted to stay before. I checked out at 6 the next morning, for hours before my scheduled checkout. Left the conference early. Drove home the same day. I've thought about Gerald's last comment every day since. Maybe it had just never found someone it particularly wanted to stay. I don't know what that means for me specifically. I don't know what made me different from any other guest who had stayed in that hotel. What I do know is this: 3 weeks after I got home, I started waking up at 1:47 a.m. every night. No alarm, no noise, just suddenly awake. The same time I had woken up in room 308. And every morning when I wake up, before I open my eyes, I check under the bed. Not because of Rule 7. But because twice now, when I have opened my eyes and looked, there's been a folded piece of plain white paper on the pillow next to me. I haven't opened either of them. They're sitting on my desk right now, folded, waiting. I'm not sure I want to know what they say, but I think part of me already does.